Thank you. So I have some notes in my hand, just giving the definition of the day. Before giving the floor to the four distinguished panelists, I would like to underline the importance of this meeting. What I mean by meeting is not only the meeting of the powerful figures that I have from the Turkish and American sides, but also the meeting of the universal solutions which will be generated from these distinguished members in this room. My introduction is also a reflection of one of the biggest mystery of the universe. Why Turkey cannot export to US. So, as a matter of fact, we have thousands of answers to this single particular question. However, none of them is the answer solely. Maybe the problem is a standalone problem. Well, we'll find out today. We got here, for me, a failure of communicate. As a scientist, it is genuinely fascinating to see that strategic allies or partners have failure to communicate. We have so much to share, and we haven't got the best yet. But each side reacts as a heartbroken and claims the reluctance of the other. Hopefully, we have something in common. We have too much things in common, but no other is well put it like this: freedom and independence. I remember this powerful statement of Thomas Jefferson. I have sworn upon the altar of God the eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man. After 120 years, another president stated this: freedom and independence is my character. This was very explicit and strong by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, the founder and the first president of the Turkish Republic. As nobody can set a limit to our minds here, and no prejudice will put any frontier to our wisdom, let's find out the answer of the main question. Why the bilateral relationship between United States and Turkey is not reflecting the common goals and the potential of these two countries. So, as a Turkish custom, we always give the floor to the most experienced. So, Honorable Hormats, you have the floor. The system will be like that. Sorry to disturb. 5 minutes for the first round, another 5 minutes for the second round. Then we have the Q&A session. And feel free to ask any kind of questions regarding the subject, of course. You have the floor.
Merhaba. Thank you very much. I want to thank General Özen and Professor Alkin for their very kind introductions, and my thanks to the American-Turkish Council for the opportunity to participate in this annual conference, which is very important. Before I begin, let me offer my condolences to all those people who were injured in the terrible earthquake, and to the families of those who lost their lives. I think every American is touched by this, and our hearts go out to the Turkish people during this very, very difficult time. So I just want to start out by saying that all of our sympathies are with all of you and your loved ones and colleagues. The United States and Turkey have a strong economic partnership. While historically overshadowed by political and military ties, our economic agenda is significant, and I think it's fair to say that it is growing. In 2009, President Obama and President Gül committed to expanding our economic ties. This commitment led to the creation of the Framework for Strategic Economic and Commercial Cooperation, FSECC, which includes our Economic Partnership Commission, as well as the Trade and Investment Framework Agreement, or TIFA. The economic dialogue between our two countries has, I think, increased opportunities and has increased substantially with these new groups. Now, new groups in themselves don't create new trade, but I think they create frameworks and opportunities for new trade. As our dialogue has increased and we have sought ways to cooperate on trade and investment issues, in the first half of the year, bilateral trade increased by roughly 50%. Admittedly, our two-way trade remains relatively small, as you have correctly pointed out, in raw numbers and in the relative sense of its relationship to some other aspects of our relationship. But our cooperation is paying off, and I anticipate trade will continue to increase. Let me highlight a few of the elements of our dynamic economic partnership that is designed to increase trade and benefit both the United States and the Turkish economies. And I think these have within them the basis for continued improvement. Turkey needs to double electricity generation, for instance, and that capacity has to increase over the next 20 years to achieve Turkey's goal of becoming and remaining a top 10 economy in the world, which is, I think, a very important objective, an objective we certainly commend and support. With this goal in mind, I understand Turkey is actively seeking investment from U.S. companies in its very important energy sector. We're helping to facilitate this process by connecting U.S. companies with their Turkish counterparts, and I think this can be an important area for both countries. The Near Zero Zone project at Izmir's Ataturk Industrial Zone is a joint U.S.-Turkish demonstration project. Several U.S. companies have completed technical energy assessments for companies in this industrial zone. These assessments will help open up new markets for U.S.-made energy-efficient products while improving profit margins for Turkish firms, we hope. We're also exploring avenues of cooperation with Turkey in the machinery sector. Specifically, we're looking at opportunities to connect our respective industry associations to promote U.S. and Turkish-made machinery exports to the Middle East and to Central Asia, among other regions of the world, markets where Turkey has a very strong and growing presence. And I was very impressed. I went with Secretary Clinton on a recent trip to Turkey, and we spent a fair amount of time in Istanbul, met with President and Prime Minister Erdogan. And one of the things that came up in those conversations and in the conversations I had with various business groups in Turkey is the very strong role Turkey is planning to play in the Arab Spring in the Middle East and indeed in the region, and saw some very interesting projections for Turkish exports, not just in the Middle East, but in Russia and Iraq and many other regions. And I think there are opportunities for American companies to cooperate with Turkish companies in this area, and we applaud Turkish leadership in this area as well. Our efforts to connect U.S. and Turkish companies are not limited to the machinery sector, of course, or to the energy sector. We're actively seeking to foster ties between U.S. and Turkish companies across all industrial segments. Turkey has knowledge of logistics and challenging markets in many parts of the world. When married with U.S. expertise and Turkish expertise in long-term project management and financing, we will be able, we believe, to open up new business opportunities for U.S. and Turkish firms together. We have noted our common interest in helping Tunisia, Egypt, Libya, and Egypt to recover economically from the Arab Spring, and we welcome opportunities for our companies to work together in that region. So, along with the type of cooperation we're doing in other parts of the world, that, as I say, is very important. Turkey is a part of the Deauville Partnership. We're also going to be meeting, leaving tomorrow, I leave tomorrow for Cannes, and Turkey, as a member of the G20, will be there. And I think working in the context of the Deauville Partnership and the G20 in Cannes and many other groups, there's an opportunity for greater cooperation as well. Both Turkey and the United States have a rich entrepreneurial tradition, which I think is another element of our cooperation. Turkey will host the second Global Entrepreneurship Summit in early December. The Turkish government's enthusiasm for the Entrepreneurship Summit is a clear symbol of our common interest in fostering entrepreneurial spirit and cooperation between our two countries and in other parts of the world as well. The United States and Turkey are working together through the State Department's Global Entrepreneurship Program to increase linkages between U.S. and Turkish entrepreneurs and investors. We have also signed an MOU with the Economic Policy Research Foundation of Turkey and established the entrepreneurship and an entrepreneur in residence within the foundation to facilitate these linkages. We fully expect the summit will serve as a venue to connect entrepreneurs from around the world. A rich entrepreneurial ecosystem and an innovation economy are critical to ensuring that Turkey achieves its goal of becoming a top 10 economy by 2023. Turkey is working hard to create an entrepreneurial environment, one that is conducive to innovation, and the United States is very supportive of this, and we think this can also increase trade and contacts. We have various MOUs under which we are working to share our expertise in nurturing the technology sector and encouraging research and development. We encourage the government of Turkey to ensure that intellectual property rights are protected so innovators reap the rewards of their very hard work. A strong IPR, intellectual property regime, is important to attracting foreign direct investment and surpassing the existing already impressive track record of economic growth. We know that Turkey is making a major effort to take on the challenge seriously. In September, the International Chambers of Commerce, Business Action to Stop Counterfeiting and Piracy, held a very well-attended conference on intellectual property protection, which resulted in excellent substantive recommendations. We look forward to continuing our robust economic dialogue with Turkey. I think it is a mystery, as you, Mr. Chairman, have indicated, why our trade is not growing, but I also think that we have the foundation through these various groups and associations and contacts for increasing it. Our goal certainly is to increase bilateral trade, bilateral investment. We see Turkey not only as one of the top 10 economies in the world in the future, but as playing an increasingly influential role in global institutions, largely through the dynamism of the Turkish people and the dynamism of Turkish industry. And we think that that dynamic, working with the dynamic of American people in business, is going to increase trade if more and more contacts of the kind I've indicated are able to take place. So I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Hormats. You gave me hope, actually, for the future. I'm a terrible teacher.
We're building.
Yes, we're building.
We're not at the top level, but we're sort of at the middle level or lower middle level. We've got a lot of stories to go to build this building.
Yeah, Honorable Damlacı knows me very well. For 10 years, we just worked together. I'm a terrible teacher. I always give marks to the result, not for the way of you solving the problem. That's why I take hope from you, and I ask the same question, what we have done so far, and what is your plan for the future for the Turkish-American trade relationships? Thanks very much. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Elkin.
You see how high Turkish technology is. I use paper, and he uses an iPad too. See, that shows you something. And Lee has paper too. You see, that tells you something about modernization in Turkey.
Thank you.
At the outset, I would like to thank the ATC for providing me such an opportunity. It's a pleasure for me to address such a distinguished audience. I would like to thank the ATC and its members for their invaluable contribution for advancing the economic and commercial ties between Turkey and the United States. Taking this opportunity, I would like to extend the best wishes of my Minister of Economy, Mr. Zafer Çağlayan, for the success of this conference. He was willing to attend to this meeting, but unfortunately, because of his tight schedule, he couldn't come here. I would also like to congratulate the confirmation of the new Secretary of Commerce, Mr. John Bryson, and express my strong belief that we will continue building up on our existing close cooperation under his leadership at the U.S. side. When it comes to the subject of this panel, I would like to state that bilateral trade policy between Turkey and the United States have gained a new meaning and a new perspective with the visit of U.S. President Mr. Obama to Turkey in April 2015. now. At that visit, it is decided that our trade and economic relations should be elevated to the level of our political and military ties. In this context, the framework for strategic economic and commercial cooperation, EFSEC, which is a strong mechanism at the ministerial level, and the Turkish-American Business Council, consisting of representatives of business circles and the government at the highest bureaucratical level, has been established. I would like to inform you about what we did after this new initiative. These two mechanisms had their first meeting, and in these meetings, new potential cooperation areas and potential deliverables ranging from energy to manufacturing industry, from agriculture to contracting services, and many more, as well as the solution to imbalanced trade and the trade issues in our bilateral trade have been discussed. In addition to this development, our Minister of Zafer Çağlayan paid 6 visits to US together with the Turkish business people in order to increase the awareness of Turkey among the US companies and to promote Turkey's potential for trade and investment. In this visit, beside the Washington, D.C., he visited the states of New York, California, Texas, Illinois, Washington, and Georgia, and he met the CEOs of several top US companies and invited them to invest in Turkey, and as well as recommended them to cooperate further with the Turkish companies. Moreover, taking into consideration the importance of US market for Turkish exporters, we increased the number of the commercial offices in USA from 3 to 7, opening new offices in Los Angeles, Seattle, Houston, and Miami, beside the already functioning offices in Washington, D.C., New York, and Chicago, to promote Turkish export product as well as introduce investment climate in Turkey for US companies. In near future, new offices will also be functioning in San Francisco and Boston. Moreover, since December 2009, substantial and encouraging development in terms of institutional cooperation between two countries are taking place. A major example is signing the 2 Memorandum of Understanding in Washington, D.C. in September 2011 between Turkey's Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency, KOSGEB, and U.S. Small Business Administration, SBA, and Minority Business Development Agency, MBDA, in order to increase the cooperation between Turkish and American small and medium-sized enterprises. Furthermore, as a response to the US side's request to create a working group on intellectual property rights, Turkey proposed to establish a working group on copyrights and related rights at this stage and delivered the draft terms of reference to the US government. Moreover, representatives of 2 non-governmental organizations, namely CropLife and Eurobio, came together with the relevant authorities of the Ministry of Food, Agriculture and Livestock of Turkey in September 2011 to discuss issues about biosafety and genetically modified organisms. The authorities of the Ministry of Health of Turkey paid a visit to Washington, D.C. last month to inform Food and Drug Administration of United States, FDA, about pharmaceutical track and trace system of Turkey. During this meeting, the US authorities pointed out that Turkey is 4 or 5 years ahead of the US in the system. On the other hand, intense talks have been done to find permanent solution to the problem faced by American and Turkish business people in our bilateral trade. In this context, as an answer to the request of the US side, Turkey proposed a permanent solution on the basis of reciprocity by signing mutual recognition agreements about the good manufacturing practices for pharmaceutical and for some of the industrial products which are subject to CE marking requirements. However, we couldn't get the positive answer from US side to our proposal up until now. On the other hand, I would like to state that although we nearly completed the legal infrastructure for our bilateral trade and investment, including agreement on promotion and protection of investment and the agreement on prevention of double taxation, the insufficient level of the economic and commercial relations between our countries disabled the parties to be able to implement these agreements effectively. Therefore, we had to find out the new instruments in order to develop our bilateral trade and economic relations. As of today, generalized system of preferences is the only instrument providing the most important opportunity for Turkish exporters to enter into US market with the preferential treatment. However, the ratio of the Turkish export to the US benefiting from GSP is only about 20%. The size of the US economy, the volume of US imports, which was about $2 trillion last year, and its attraction for the all countries lead to the existence of a very competitive market. Some countries, especially those in Far East Asia, which are implementing subsidies at the export stage, make us US market much more difficult for the competition. Hence, it turns out to be more important for Turkey to have US accept our request on the extension of the number of the products in the GSP list. Taking this opportunity, I would like to state that we welcome the extension of the GSP system until July 2013 by the signing of the bill by President Mr. Obama on October 21st. We are aware that Turkey, with its trade volume of more than $300 billion, the big and young population of more than 74 million, and the GDP of more than $750 billion, as well as the per capita income of more than $10,000, is one of the most important potential markets for the US, as mentioned in its National Export Initiative. Similarly, US is also one of the most important markets for Turkish export. However, Turkey has not been able to obtain an important share from the huge US market so far. On the contrary, Turkey's share in the US import market has been decreasing gradually. While the Turkey's export to USA were $3.1 billion in 2000, in 2010 it increased just to $3.8 billion. In the same period, Turkey's imports from US increased from $3.9 billion to $12.3 billion. Hence, in the same period, the trade volume increased from $7 billion to $16 billion. In the first 9 months of this year, compared to the same period in 2010, the export of Turkey to USA have increased by 24%, reaching $3.3 billion. On the other hand, in the same period, imports of Turkey from US have increased by 47% and reached to $12.3 billion. Thus, the trade volume of Turkey and USA in the first 9 months of 2011 have realized as $15.7 billion, whereas the trade deficit between our countries have increased and reached $9 billion in favor of USA. This situation may be attributed to various reasons, but we need to work together to increase our bilateral trade in a more balanced and sustainable way. Therefore, we are exerting every possible effort in this issue. One of our offers to the US side on this issue is to establish a new preferential trade mechanism other than GSP. More specifically, a new preferential market access model for Turkish export products to US market is vital to further increase the trade volume between two countries in a balanced manner. As the Turkish side, we are ready to discuss all possible alternatives in this regard. Export of Turkey depends heavily on the imports of raw materials and the semi-raw materials from the world. Allowing a preferential access to US market for Turkish export products, which are produced with the inclusion of the certain amount of US origin inputs as an obligatory, will create a new opportunity to increase our bilateral trade on a balanced manner. Hence, this offer should not be regarded as one-side concession like GSP. It will be the win-win situation for both countries. Moreover, the extension of such a model to manufacturing activities in countries in the countries in our region like Iraq and Afghanistan will contribute to the peace and stability in the region as well, which will serve to the interest and benefit of both Turkey and the United States. Another alternative could be creating joint production zones among the countries in the region, Turkey and also USA, taking into account the Turkish strategic location and leading position in the region. To this end, we are ready to work together on structuring such model and develop condition encouraging especially the US-Turkey joint ventures. We believe that this would be one of the most significant achievements that the governments could make within the EFSEC mechanism. I would like to state that the cooperation in defense industry, shipbuilding sector, automotive sector, and pharmaceutical sector has greater potential to ensure that the increased trade will be more balanced by increasing Turkey's capacity to produce and trade more value-added exports. Further cooperation, as outlined in our institutional mechanism like EFSEC, TIFA, ATC, and others, will provide Turkey with an opportunity for greater value-added export production to take advantage in US market. More specifically, some equipment and spare parts of airplanes, helicopters, and other defense industry products can be manufactured in Turkey for the US companies in this sector. Although our internationally reliable firms in this sector, such as TAI, Aselsan, Havelsan, are working together with the US companies like Boeing and Sikorsky. However, their exports are not at the desired level. We know that the American defense companies are already absolutely satisfied with the quality and the price of Turkish defense industry production, and we would like to see more firms to take initiative to extend the cooperation in this regard. Furthermore, I would like to especially underline that using Turkey as the research and development center will serve the interests of both countries. The support and the opportunities Turkey provides for investors' close relationship of Turkey with its neighboring and surrounding countries, the opportunity to enter those countries' market with the preferential tariffs, and also strategic importance of Turkey in terms of logistics are the basis of unique and outstanding difference that Turkey makes in its region. Unfortunately, the US companies is still far from using and benefiting Turkey's economic and commercial potential in its region. A striking figure in this context is that Turkey attracted about $10 billion of FTA flows in the first 7 months of 2011. However, the share of the American investment in the same period is roughly $300 million with a share of only 3%. I should also state that the investment amount of European companies in Turkey for the same period is about more than $8 billion. This is the most concrete indication of the fact that the problem is not about the investment regulation or investment environments of Turkey, but about the lack of interest for the part of American companies. I am sure that Mr. İlker IG will be touching on this issue in more detail. Distinguished guests, in terms of bilateral trade policy, we also attach great importance to cooperation with the USA in third countries.
İkinci bölümde şey yapalım mı istiyor musunuz yoksa bunu şey yapmak ister misiniz?
Yes, if you want, I can continue in the second.
Okay, in the second round maybe, because my question will be the third countries. Actually, I would like to touch upon the Arab Spring and the opportunities for the Turkish and American countries, if you don't mind.
Okay,
if you don't mind.
No problem.
What I understand from Honorable Hormats, that we put the seed under the ground and we're looking for the rain. So we are praying actually. But Mr. Damlacı says that heavy clouds, no rain. And so I'll turn to Honorable Zach to give us more hope about the Turkish and American investors. Thank you very much. You got the floor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Alkan, and I want to thank the American-Turkish Council for the opportunity to be here with this distinguished panel. I also join with Bob in extending our condolences to our friends and families of the victims of the earthquake. USTDA has been active in Turkey for a number of years and have many dear friends there. So our hearts truly go out to those victims and their families. I have to say, listening to the discussion this morning and listening in particular to Bob's response to what it is that can be done to be able to develop this relationship, he mentioned two things that I'd like to expand upon. One is building the infrastructure for trade and the importance of building the infrastructure for trade. The other was the importance of connecting Turkish companies with their U.S. counterparts. This is exactly what the U.S. Trade and Development Agency does. We're a U.S. government agency, we're an independent agency, but what our goal is to be able to make those connections between the host country partners. They can be public or they can be private with U.S. businesses. And we believe by focusing on areas of mutual benefit, we're able to develop those areas of trade and to be able to expand upon trade. Looking at Turkey, we've had a very active program over the years, and we focused on areas of ICT, energy, and transportation. In particular, Secretary Hormats had mentioned energy, and I think this is an area where there's a great opportunity for us to be able to connect, to be able to develop those relationships, to have foreign direct investment, but also to develop relationships for mutual benefit. And as a matter of fact, in September, USTDA provided funding for 3 projects focused on energy, and focused on energy efficiency, smart grid, and geothermal. And I think these are really good examples of where there are good opportunities for partnership. And as a matter of fact, we've provided funding for a feasibility study for Zulo Energy, which is a Turkish company, and planning the initial groundwork for that geothermal facility. That geothermal facility, if it moves forward to implementation, and I'm hoping we might be able to have some foreign direct investment with respect to that implementation, that facility will then generate 30 megawatts of power. What that does is that powers 45,000 residences and businesses as well, and create 200 jobs in Turkey. So I think that's a good example of where there can be mutual benefit working together with U.S. companies. Also yesterday, people talked, and there was a mention this morning about the Ataturk Industrial Zone, and there USTDA is also working together with 10 companies focusing on energy efficiency. Clearly, energy generation is important, but immediate energy can be achieved through energy efficiency. Again, it's the importance with respect to creating this infrastructure for trade, but at the same time, this is all being done in partnership with U.S. companies. And I think one of the important answers to the questions that we've talked about is exactly what Bob was saying. Giving people the opportunity to work together, to work side by side, to basically create those relationships that subsequently will evolve into trade relationships. And I'm looking forward, I don't want to take too much time because I'm looking forward to some of the questions and answers. Yeah. But I also have to give a shout out and a big thanks to AmCham for their magazine, which has become my favorite of the month. Because if you look on right after page 23, there's a description of U.S. Trade and Development Agency and all of our particular programs. But our goal is the one that Bob had talked about here today, and I think the one that's really going to drive our trade relationship for the future, and that's one of mutual benefit. It can't be one-sided, and I think that's one of the things that's terrific about our agency, is that we focus on the priorities of the host country, and we look at areas where we can make those connections, bring the right people together for the mutual benefit.
Thank you very much. It was very explicit.
Thank you.
Though, and you're just using your time very efficiently. I understood that the money is not an issue. Maybe the collaboration is the most important issue now between the Turkish and American companies, especially with the know-how and the energy business. When I'm turning back to the Turkish side, as Mr. Aycı, there is an attitude in the Turkish investors that, you know, if there is no American investment in Turkey, so why should I care about you? Is that true? It's very, frank, but very hard to say, but is that true? Can you give us a give us a hope about the Turkish side of the bilateral relationship, please.
Sure, sure. with
And
pleasure.
if you cannot see the right-hand
Yeah, I
side
can,
of the other side,
I can't
please,
see the right
please,
side.
please
Let me
do.
use the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't turn us a speech, but you know, it's
Thank you so much.
I know that you will use it. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you so much, General Hayrettin Uzun. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And you know, first of all, it's very difficult to talk after a very distinguished spokesman. Actually, they spoke about and they touch upon very important issues. And I think one thing is very good, first of all. I saw also my colleagues here, mainly the Honorable Hormats, on his speech, really touch upon very important issues, very parallel to my speech, and so I have to change my speech a little bit. It's difficult. But at the same time, it's very good to see that we have so, in terms of our thoughts, our plans, and I think we have so many common goals and common ideas, and we're sharing really the same goals. And that is very positive, I guess, because in the both sides, President, also Mr. Obama, and also our Prime Minister, Mr. Erdogan, they are really committed to increase our trade and economic activities between two strong allies. And as we have seen the outcomes now, the trade volumes between two countries now, it is around $16 billion, and which is very important, I guess. And now in Turkey, we have actually, maybe it's a little bit answer to the question of Mr. Professor. Now we have more than 1,000 US companies as investors in Turkey. We are proud of them. And now their investments in Turkey exceed $6 billion, which is very important for us. And yesterday, in his very enthusiastic speech, the CEO of the Skorsky talked about very important, actually, cooperation with Turkey, Turkish aerospace industries. And we are proud of them, both of them, the Skorsky and also Turkish aerospace industry together. They are doing great, and I think we have a very bright future on the aerospace cooperation between two countries. And what I would like to suggest here to other aerospace companies of the US and to cooperate more our Turkish aerospace industry company, because they have capacity, because they have passion, because they have really skilled labor force, because they have really, I think, professional, actually, management, and they have expertise, and they may increase the competitive advantage of, for instance, Boeing. And if the Boeing, mainly on the civilian aircraft side, if they come and just use more and more the facilities of them in Turkey and cooperate more and more, and I think that this may increase their capability of competition, and they may be ahead, actually, far more to his really vital rival. And I think that we have a bunch of opportunities now in ahead. And as we have seen in here, really in the speeches actually made by Madam Secretary yesterday, and also the spokesman of the yesterday and today, as we have seen, the both sides have a strong commitment to increase trade and economic activities. But there are some specific questions to ask to ourselves. And mainly, when we look at the now a turbulent world and the, the clouds all around, and the people is thinking about what will be the safe haven for me to invest. And what are the right gates to enter a specific market? What are the right companies and sectors that I should invest? And what should be my exit strategy during a crisis in the market that I go? And is there any liberal trade regime over there? Is there any friendly government to the business? Is there any actually transparent bureaucracy over there? Is there any bureaucracy over there cooperating a lot with the private sector? How about their capability of public-private partnership? And how about their skilled labor force and dedicated labor force? How about their management skills? How can I find really in the mid-rank position or the top-rank position managers that I can find in that country? How can I send my professionals to that country? What about their social life? Is there any social life they offer? Is there any good schools for the education of my professionals, sons and daughters in that country? How about the foods of that country? How about the sun in that country? How about the people of that country? Are they hospitable? What about what do they think about my company, my country? What they thinking about us? And there are so many questions that the CEO is asking, because I'm a former CEO in insurance company, mainly by business was risk management. And now we have a lot of risk all around. Well, most of them in the past was very visible. Now we have invisible risks, unexpected risks in the world. Now, it's very difficult to find out safe haven for the investors anymore. But I can say one thing very clear. In the past, the question was, when you go to your decision makers and talking about your investment portfolio, and when you bring them your short list, if there is Turkey in that short list to invest, actually, you have to really answer very critical and even sometimes hostile questions from your decision makers. Why Turkey? Why Turkey? They're unstable, they have their own crisis, the world economy is going well, but their economy is crap. So why Turkey? They're not transparent, there are a lot of domestic problems. Why Turkey? But now, this was the former Turkey. Look at the Turkey now. Look at the Turkey. Very positively differentiated itself in that crisis. And in the last 10 years, Turkey has a robust economic growth. And this really succeeded by the political and economic stability. And this succeeded with the really strong cooperation between the private sector and the public sector. And this growth really comes from private sector, not state. And only in the last 9 years, the privatization successfully realized in Turkey, the amount that I can give you is $44.5 billion. There's resources transferred from the public to private. And now, Turkey attracted, only in the 9 years, more than $100 billion FDI. And when you look at the Republican history, only it was until 2002, $15 billion. As you see, there's a big growth over there. Now, in this crisis, this year, in the first quarter, as you all know, that Turkey really had a robust economic growth. And, only after 2 quarters, now Turkey's economic growth is 11.2. And 88% in the last quarter, 8.8% in the last quarter. As you see, there's a big economic growth over there, dynamic market over there, and young population over there. And the other thing is also we have a rising middle class, which is very important for every company who's looking for a new market themselves. Now is the question. The question changed. Today is the question now. When you go to your decision makers and bring your investment portfolio or plans, your short list, if you don't have Turkey, you have to explain them why not Turkey. Where is Turkey in your portfolio? Where is Turkey? And one of the most important emerging markets now in the world. As you see now, the gravity of economic activity is really shifting from developed countries to emerging markets. And Turkey is one of them. Not the only one. Of course, there are some other great countries to invest. Not only Turkey. But Turkey offers you really a very close cooperation with you by the state, by the government. And Turkey here, really offering you a very strong private sector to cooperate with you, not only in Turkey, also out of Turkey. You can drink your coffee in Ankara or Antalya or Istanbul, and your colleagues, your partner, Turkish partner, may go to Iraq for you, may go to Libya for you, may go to even Egypt or Syria for you, and just work for you. And you can minimize your risk. You can minimize your exposures. Now, only investing in one country, one huge economy, that you compete a lot as US, and you are just putting every egg to the same box, then you are creating a big exposure and risk for you. Or just going to Latin America only. it's a big risk for you again. You have to disseminate, allocate your risk, your exposures. And now, Turkey, as the very friendly environment to you, well, as you have seen, really, the slogan here is important for me, just honoring our past and just building for the future. Yes, we have a very honorable past together in various peacekeeping operations together, side by side, shoulder by shoulder, we were together. But now, while very respectful military and political relationship we have in the world or in the region, now is the time to transfer it very strongly. Now we have a very good climate between the Mr. Obama administration and also Mr. Erdogan administration in Turkey. And our private sector very committed to cooperate with you. Our state organizations very committed to work with you. Come to Turkey and work with us. Work with us. And then you may either use Turkey as a hub for manufacturing bases, or you can use Turkey as management center, like Coca-Cola did, like now Microsoft did, like GE Healthcare did. They really relocate their management center from Europe to Turkey now. And they are now more than 80 countries managing from Turkey, because they have enough people to serve them. So there are various, I think, really opportunities between two countries, but it's not one-side relationship, as Honorable Zach talked about. I don't think that this is one-side relationship. When you're asking me the question, why US and Turkey trade is far beyond the potential. But there is a very important growth here we have to see, first of all. We accept this. But we should go further. How? I think we can answer that question very simply. That is, if the American investments in Turkey, companies' investment in Turkey increase, if the American and Turkish companies' investment vice versa increase, I think the trade volume also will increase.
Mr. Ajib, maybe just let a second for a second round.
Yeah, I have to now stop now, and Mr. Chairman is stopping me.
Thank you very much.
So thank you so much for your patience.
Thank you. With all respect, of course, you have plenty to say. I know it just, looks like a marriage, me and my wife, and some other people knows my wife. Actually, it's hard to speak. After 11 years, I say that we got some problems. We just sit and talk, and we couldn't finish the first round, so we couldn't pass to the second round. The second round was impossible. So that's why I keep avoiding the second round by giving the opportunity to the room for the second round. Actually, I got some questions with the Arab Springs, but I'm very prompt at that issue. It will be finished in 7 minutes. So I will give 3 opportunity for a question. The first question will be from the gentleman. If another second one, I'll take the opportunity. Lovely. Please, you have the floor.
My question will be directed to His Excellency Mr. Hormats. Sir, if I understood correctly, you said you were doing your best to ease up the ways and means for the Turkish American companies to cooperate in the energy sector. What would be the reason?
Can you repeat it with the microphone, because it's all taped, and I wonder if it's good or not.
My question to His Excellency Mr. Hormats. If I understand that you said you were trying to ease up the ways and means for the Turkish and American companies to cooperate in the sector of energy, what would your comments for the lack of interest of the American companies in our nuclear power project?
Well, I think, I don't know if there's any one answer, but I do think that the kind of things we're trying to do, we're making a major effort to get American companies to become more acquainted with Turkish energy plans. And we think that there are a lot of American companies that do have the capability in the area of nuclear power, in the area of smart grid technology, in many areas of investment. And I think part of the problem is just the one you mentioned, that American companies have really not thought as much about Turkey in the past. Turkey has been seen by a lot of American companies as more being an area where the European companies are operating for a whole historic set of reasons. I do think that when they become more acquainted with Turkey's very ambitious energy plans and with the kinds of environment that Turkey offers, the kind you mentioned, I do think you'll see more of it. I don't think it's a rapid process, but I do think we're actively involved in this effort. The Export-Import Bank is going to be providing support for American companies in Turkey. TDA, I don't know if TDA has an energy component, but we're trying to use all the agencies of the U.S. government to get American companies more acquainted. Maybe Lee would like to say a little bit more about that.
Sure. I'd love to jump in here. And with respect to energy generally, I think one of the important things, in addition to just knowing about Turkey, and I loved your comments, is also to be sure that the initial planning of each of the projects is such that it's to the standards that U.S. companies feel comfortable in participating in. And it's one of the things that our agency really focuses on, is developing the standards with respect to each project so that it's a fair and open field for U.S. companies. If the initial specifications aren't set up so that it's the type of technology U.S. can bring, then there aren't going to be opportunities for U.S. businesses. So it's exactly the type of thing that our agency tries to do, is to be sure that there's a fair and open playing field, that the specifications are such that provides for U.S. businesses. The other thing that I think is really important to attracting U.S. businesses is, with respect to those specifications, focusing on life cycle costing, ensuring that it's not just the lowest bid, but basically that you're going to be partners over time. And I think that's something that's really attractive to U.S. businesses, and actually an area where U.S. businesses can excel. So our experience, we've been very active in the geothermal, smart grid, renewable energy area, and it's building the right specifications to be able to bring the right people.
Thank you very much. Any other question? So I have a question in my mind, actually, with the Arab Spring. We have 400 million people living there. This is the MENA countries, and the average age is 22. But they have a lot of universities, people are educated there. There's a huge potential of consumption. And I would like to ask, everybody, the four panelists, then, do you have plans for the cooperation after the Arab Spring with the Turkish and American investors get together then and find a solution? Every panelist have 1 minute for the answer, but that's not the 1 minute of our Prime Minister. Don't be confused. So I started with you, then I'll get back. This is the real 1 minute. Yes. Yeah.
It's not easy to talk after 1 minute. And Turkey is, first of all, an inspiration center for the Arab countries, economically, politically, and socially, I guess. And these countries have now significant Turkish investments now. And they know us, and they trust Turkey now so much. And now made in Turkey goods is very favorable now in this market. And also, by investing Turkey, U.S. companies also at the same time will be in a position to reach out to rising Arab countries, both in terms of trade and as well as the technology and know-how transfer, I think. I think the Turkish companies in Turkey is a perfect partner for American companies who wants to be influential in the Arab countries nowadays. But there are, of course, some challenges and instabilities in these markets. But I think right after the transition and during the transition and after the transition in that countries, there will be a strong demand. And mainly the disseminating the wealth to the grassroots will increase the rising middle class in that countries, and they will demand more goods. We just had witnessed this situation, for instance, after 1980s and after the 24 January decisions when Turkey opened economically to world economy and tried to integrate Turkey to world economy more and more. And this created rising demand in the country. And after that rising demand, this helped a lot to deepening some sectors and companies in the country. The entrepreneurship really bumped in Turkey, and first of all, after 1980s.
So there's going to be the same experience?
Same experience, I think that will happen in the Arab countries, but they already have, for instance, Egypt is a specific case, and they have a very strong past, and I think with a very stable administration, they can do better. And Libya and also Tunisia, and when you look at the area, they are very rich in terms of oil and gas, and so very easy for them growth economically. What they need is really entrepreneurship, really present new technologies, new goods. And one thing is very clear now, I have to point out here. 30 years ago, the Turkey's export very little, and 20 years ago, Turkey's export on industrial goods only below 50%. But now, when you analyze the Turkey's export today, the industrial goods is 95%.
95%.
Now is the right time to cooperate with Turkish manufacturers and Turkish companies in the third countries, mainly the Arab world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Hormat.
Yes, I would just, I think what you've said is exactly right, and I would just add a few additional thoughts. One is Turkey is very good at having business associations. Turkey has a lot of very vibrant, dynamic business associations that I've had the pleasure of meeting with when I was in Istanbul last and several other occasions as well. And I think that American companies working with those business associations could be very important. Two, I think one role Turkey can play in the Arab Spring is to help companies in the region to explain to their governments the kinds of policies their governments need to undertake to be attractive to private investment, Turkish investment and all investment. These problems are serious because they've had governments really run by one individual. They do not have good corporate governance laws for the most part in North Africa and other parts of the Arab world, but particularly North Africa. And Turkey could give very good advice to the governments, but also to the companies on what they need to do to ask their governments to improve the investment environment and the overall corporate governance environment, accounting, law, intellectual property protection, a whole range of things, the ability to establish companies, the ability to close down companies. That advisory role by the Turkish civil society business groups would be important. And the third area, very simply, is that I do think the point you've made is exactly right. The American companies don't know that region as well. The big companies do. The big oil companies certainly do, and a lot of big American companies do. But I think some of the smaller and medium-sized companies don't. And one of the areas Turkey excels in is small and medium-sized enterprises. So I think that American small and medium-sized companies that want to invest in the region or sell to the region can link up through these business associations like our Chamber of Commerce and TOBB and other groups in Turkey can find ways of linking together. And we have this thing called Partnership for a New Beginning that Mukhtar Kent and Madeleine Albright and Walter Isaacson have been working for. I met with the board of that group. They have some very good ideas for working with American companies and with Arab companies to expand opportunities. So I think there's a lot of networking that can actually lead to improvements.
Thank you very much. Honorable Damlacı.
Thank you. As you know that we attach great importance to our relation with the Arab countries, especially our neighboring and surrounding countries, stemming from our commitment to the European Union, we started to sign the free trade agreement with all these countries. And except Libya and Algeria, we signed the free trade agreement and put it into force with all these countries. So any company, any foreign company, American company, who wants to invest in Turkey, they will also benefit from the preferential access to these markets. On the other hand, we had a very big, very huge contracting operation in some of these countries, especially in Libya, Iraq. For example, before the crisis, we had the construction operation with the total volume of the $18 billion in Libya. Of course, after the stabilization, after the normalization, they will continue the reconstruction of the country. In Syria again, and in Iraq. And Iraq now is going to invest, reconstruct their country, and they will spend billions of dollars for the reconstruction. So we have an experience, especially in the construction sector. We are the second biggest country after China in the world in this issue. And US companies, of course, have enough financial opportunity, and they have technology. We have experience in construction sector, in manufacturing sector. So we are inviting the American company to cooperate with the Turkish company, work together in these third countries.
Thank you very much.
What I would like to say briefly.
Thank you. It was very, very in that particular area as well.
Yeah.
So I saved the best for the last.
Thank you.
Honorable Zach.
Thank you very much. And I have to say that I'm extremely optimistic about the Arab Spring. And I have to say 22 seems very young to some of us. But looking at what's happened with the Arab Spring and the youth, I mean, they're clearly very energetic. They're smart. They're enthusiastic. And I think one important thing we have to do is harness that energy for economic success. And I think the other thing is, as the Honorable Minister had indicated, there are many things that we have in common with respect to democracy and freedom. And I think in addition to everything people have talked about here this morning, everyone needs a mentor. Everyone needs a role model. And I think Turkey can serve as a role model for many of those members who participated in the Arab Spring, both on a political level as well as an economic level. So I think Turkey has a big role ahead, but I think they're going to play a very significant role with respect to the success of the Arab Spring.
And can I just add one thing to what Lee said? There have been a lot of talk in the past about the clash of civilizations. I think that our two countries, Turkey and the US, have an enormously important role to play in demonstrating to those who believe that there is going to be or has to be a clash in civilizations, that is not correct. That in fact, modern Islam, democracy, economic growth, all those things can coexist in a very constructive way. And our two countries are not just participants in this process, we can be leaders in the process of demonstrating that there is not an inevitable clash in civilizations, that different societies, different religions with different points of view can work together cooperatively between ourselves and in North Africa and other parts of the Arab world, that these cultures actually can cooperate to the good of Muslims and people throughout the world in a constructive fashion. There's no inevitability of a clash in civilizations. Our two countries have proved it bilaterally, and we can prove it in the Arab world as well.
Thank you very much. Professor Alkin, there is no room for a question. I'm terribly sorry.
Thank you so much.
No favor for the family. What I understood from yesterday, we need a crisis to be a member of European Union. What I understood today, we need a spring to collaborate together, United States and Turkey. Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you.